2025 will be a big year for the solo 401k. Hi, it's financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss and stay to the end to find out just how much you might be able to get into a solo 401k in 2025. But 2024 was so big, I think it's important to go through it first and then go on to 2025 developments. So the first big 2024 solo 401k development is Vanguard's Out. This is the year that Vanguard said thank you, but no thank you to solo 401ks, and they transferred all of their solo 401k accounts to a census. And now solo 401k investors can still get into Vanguard funds. A census offers a large menu of Vanguard funds, right? So if you're looking for Vanguard funds, a census is an option. But I think for those of us who had our solo 401ks transferred to a census, there's some important considerations. I've talked about them on the channel. One is beneficiary designation forms. They did not go over from Vanguard to a census, so it's so important to get those up to date. And two, the census contribution portal is just not all that intuitive. And so that creates challenges. I did a video on that issue, right? So you get to check that as well. So Vanguard going to a census, big development in 2024. Another big development in 2024 is a project of my own research. What happens to a solo 401k when the solopreneur retires? I did a deep dive back into some tax history all the way back to 1962, and I've concluded in my research that the most likely outcome is that a solo 401k indefinitely survives the retirement of a Schedule C solopreneur. That has all sorts of bells and whistles and add-on ramifications. One of those being that solopreneurs who do Schedule C and have a solo 401k should be able to qualify for the Rule of 55 if they retire from their self-employment. So that's a very interesting development. And then a third development is doubts about Secure 2.0. There was a court case down in Lubbock, Texas, and a federal judge found that the omnibus bill, which included Secure 2.0, was passed at a time the House of Representatives did not have a sufficient quorum in order to enact legislative business, including legislation. And so it turns out that there's now a legal uncertainty around Secure 2.0. Now, to be fair, I would argue Secure 2.0 added a lot of rules, but didn't add a lot of planning in terms of solo 401ks. My view is that Secure 2.0 was dozens of these really minor changes that from a planning perspective are not all that impactful. But there are absolutely rules that impacts solo 401ks in Secure 2.0. And I think 2025 is going to be a very interesting year because two things are at least theoretically possible. One is there could be more litigation around Secure 2.0. Recall this Texas case was not around Secure 2.0 as Secure 2.0, so it doesn't yet affect it, but the legal reasoning involved in the decision very much impacts Secure 2.0. And then the second thing that could happen in 2025 is we have a new administration, and they may view Secure 2.0 differently, and they may be hesitant to enforce Secure 2.0. I think based on the reasoning in that Texas court case, there's a really good argument that the federal government should not be honoring Secure 2.0 anymore because it probably was not correctly passed, at least in my opinion and the opinion of a federal judge down in Texas. So that's something to keep an eye on. Well, what about 2025? We got some good things in 2025 on the solo 401k front. One, the employee contribution limit went up. It's up to $23,500. That goes to $30,500 for those who are age 50 and older. And remember, that's always limited by earned income, right? So if you have $10,000 of Schedule C income, well, this limit is nice, but that's also a limit, right? So you got to keep that in mind. But it's nice to see that as an employee, we could potentially get up to $30,500 if we're 50 or older. There's also something called the All Additions limit in 2025. That's gone up to $70,000. Now that includes our employer contribution, employee contribution. That's now all the way up to $70,000. And if we're 50 or older, that goes up to $77,500. Now there's an additional catch-up contribution for those 60 to 63. that makes the catch-up not $7,500, it makes it $11,250. However, that's a secure 2.0 rule. So I think we got to at least use a little bit of caution when using that, but that's out there as well. And the other thing I would say about solo 401ks in 2025 is my view is that traditional deductible solo 401k contributions are more attractive than ever. And why do I say that? I say that because it appears that the new administration and the new Congress will be relatively friendly to retirees. They're almost certainly going to extend the lower tax rates and the higher standard deduction of the TCJA. That's very advantageous for retirees. And Trump promised during the campaign very strongly to repeal the tax on Social Security, which would very much lower taxes on retirees. And the rub of it is, well, wait a minute, these traditional retirement accounts are going to be relatively lightly taxed. If that all goes through, no guarantees, but it's like we're seeing a trend towards even lighter taxation for retirees, which would then argue for especially higher earning solopreneurs to deduct contributions into a solo 401k, because in retirement, they're not going to suffer that heavy a tax burden. So I think 2025 is going to be a great year for solo 401ks. I'm hopeful for a lot of adaptation as there's more solopreneurship in the world. Let me know what you think about the solo 401k below. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.